going to hem suit coat sleeves today. A rascally job in my opinion, but I'm going to show you how to do it with ease and comfort. And who knows, maybe it'll become your favorite job. The sleeves need to be shortened a good 1.5 inches. Ideally, you're never going to shorten much more than 1.5 inches because then the placket gets too short and looks funny. And that's talking about hemming up. Now when it comes to letting down a suit coat, you seldom really can. That's because of this angular seam here at the button placket. It's going to become more apparent as we go along. Meanwhile, let's just start by chalking off that 1.5 inches. First though, I'm going to pop off these buttons. Now we'll mark. Release the lining. Now pull that lining out. And this sleeve pulls out all the way. Sometimes they're attached right about here, and then you can't pull it out quite all the way. So that now I can mark off its 1.5 inches. You can kind of see the chalk line where the new fold line will be. And I'm going to trim now close to it, just like it was at the original fold line, about 3/8 inch out. I'm going to give it a good 1/2 inch, I think. Before trimming, I am going to press under the new fold line. I press under first because then I can see better than that slight chalk line where to cut. As you can see, I prefer pinking shears. Now, if you need to chalk out where to cut, that's what you do. I'm just going to eyeball it.